Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the internet, and welcome back to Quadruple B. It seems like anytime I try and do one of these streams, and I immediately have to hit live and then go into that intro, there's always like that weird half-second delay, which always bothers me on the crackback when I try and watch these. So, oh shit! Oh hey, look, we actually got people in here. Wow, amazing! I wonder if YouTube actually bothered with the notification or... Oh, wait, nope. Hey, hold on. I actually got it. Holy fuck. YouTube is actually working as intended for once. Maybe. How's everybody doing today? Hopefully we're going to have a very religious and enlightening experience, except I very much so doubt it with these characters. Crabman is in the chat, as well as Anastasia. Welcome, both of you. As well as Duke of Petchington. Awesome. We got a good gang of people going on here. Glad to see all of you guys here. Hopefully you're as excited as I am, because we haven't done one of these streams since last year. It really is that awful. And last time that we did one of these, I passed out shortly after cutting the stream early, so we do have an extra chapter to go through today, just to kind of make up for a little bit of time, but it's a very entertaining chapter, filler as it may be. We're going to go ahead here. We're going to wait just a little while longer, just see how many more people we can actually get in here. Before we start, though, I would like to share something with you guys. Some of you may recall back to whenever the hell we did that episode on Jacob's Ladder. I was bitching and complaining that the apocryphal book called Jacob's Ladder has this absolutely eldritch abomination of a creature, which is supposed to be the ladder, which is like a big amalgamation of flesh with arms and shit and faces like screaming. It was badass as all hell. But I could find no depiction of it online. Well, one of our Discord members, Old Man Balls Nagash, who's actually in the chat right now, great to see you here, actually went ahead and he made a rendition of roughly what was described in the book here. So let me go ahead here, share screen here, get this window open. What the fuck? There we go. Hold on here. Yeah, there we go. All right, so starting from the very bottom here, we got Jacob, of course, selling oranges out of his Mexican pickup truck here, apparently standing next to a giant pile of orange shit. And then we have the entire ladder of faces just flipping him off, some of which have submachine guns, which is amazing. And all the way up top here, the penthouse of management. What the fuck, Jacob? Where's your brother? You see, that's God, but he's on that grind, man. He's got that fucking Mr. Coffee on his desk. He knows what's up. Where's your brother, Jacob? I just imagine like all of these guys like fucking whispering all of that in like that nightmarish raspy voice at the same time. So I love this. This is a great rendition. Nagesh, thank you so much for making it. I like it so well, I've decided that I'm going to pin it to the underside of my penis. So anyway, let's go ahead here and let's make haste here, and because we got 4 chapters to go through today, but fairly eventful chapters today. As always, guys, if you do want to ask any sort of questions, I will probably be getting to them after we're done with the reading, just because it's very hard for me to like jump back and forth between the different screens and whatever. So last time we did any one of these streams, essentially the most eventful thing that happened is that Joseph's younger brothers, or excuse me, older brothers. One of them was younger, but most of them were older. Beat the shit out of him, tore off his cloak, soaked it in some lamb's blood, uh, threw him in a hole, sold him to some Arabs, as you do, and then they went back to Jacob and presented the bloody cloth to him and said, "Hey, your son's dead. Can you finally start showing some favoritism towards any of us?" And Jacob essentially said, "No!" And then immediately went into a tirade of crying on end for about a month over a son who really wasn't worth it. He was a giant fucking narc. But then again, if your father was fucking Jacob, I don't know, I probably would kill myself before it got to that point. Alrighty, so now we're picking up at Genesis 38. Now this is a little bit of a side tangent before we get into the Joseph in Egypt shits. But this, like I said, this is a very entertaining one. So, Genesis 38:1. And it came to pass at that time that Judah went down from his brethren and turned into a certain Adulamite, whose name was Hira. Judah, by the way, is not literally the kingdom of Judah. It's just one of the sons of Jacob, whose kingdom will eventually be named after him. But as of right now, this is Judah, the proper noun / character. And Judah saw there a daughter of a certain Canaanite, whose name was Shua, and he took her, and he went in unto her. Hold on, there we go. And she conceived and bare a son, and he called his name So, yeah, this is looking to be yet another boring genealogy chapter, but rather than trying to speed run through all of this, we're dealing with quite possibly one of the most entertaining chapters thus far, and one of the most historically impactful if you live in America. I'll explain why a little bit later. Even still, absolute filler, but then again, so was Genesis 9, and that was the historical justification for slavery in the United States. So, 6 1/2, 12 dozen. And she conceived again, and bare a son, and she called his name, and she yet again bare a son, and called his name Shelah. And he was at Chizzy when she bare him. And Judah took a wife for his first son, and her name was Tomar. Yeah, you know what? I'm just going to stick with Tammy. And in Judah's firstborn was wicked in the sight of Jehovah, and Jehovah slew him. Now, I have this one highlighted because it's very interesting. Barring genocide of literal side characters at best, God really doesn't do a lot of killing individually. If you recall, the closest thing we ever really got to a named character that God ever directly slew up to this point was that one schmuck Lamech who killed one of those two guys in self-defense, and even then, it's not totally specified exactly what happened to him. His lineage just kind of stops getting mentioned after that. Genesis 4:24, if you really need a refresher. I doubt any of you are actually going to go back and look at it, but it's there for you. Barring that, we've got Lot's wife, who to this day is still known as Lot's wife, a real important character to say the least. And because I know someone is going to try and mention it, Enoch does not count. It just says the Lord took him. So I mean, technically he did kind of die, but in the same way I imagine being led to the spirit world by an incredibly cute Grim Reaper while you're technically still alive, to be offered the task of looking after a golden egg containing the monstrous beast, and then being offered the job of investigating matters of the supernatural in the mortal world, is kind of the same thing as dying. I mean, I guess, by technicality. Also, Yu Yu Hakusho is the best anime ever, and I will not hear any comments to the contrary. So yeah, literally speaking, is the first guy in the Bible to ever get stit by a lightning bolt. So, good for you, I guess. It just kind of calls into question what kind of depraved shit he was doing to be specifically murdered by God, when murderers and father fingerers seem to get a pass. But I don't know. I'm not the arbiter of morality in this story. I'm very confused by the arbiter of morality in this story. And Judah said unto Onan, Go in unto thy brother's wife, and perform the duty of a husband's brother unto her, and raise up seed to thy brother. Would you believe they actually doubled down on this later on in Deuteronomy? The quote goes, If brothers dwell together, and one of them dies and has no son, the wife of the dead man shall not be married outside the family to a stranger. Her husband's brother shall go in unto her, and take her as his wife, and perform the duty of the husband's brother to her. That's Deuteronomy 25:5. So, yeah, this was generally practiced law in the region and at the time. A few caveats, though. Even though you impregnate your brother's wife, for whatever reason, that child is still considered his. Genetically speaking, it's kind of correct, especially if the brothers were identical twins or some shit like that. But the main purpose behind this law is to try and keep the bloodline pure. All right, ladies and gentlemen, yet another edict to justify one's semantic racism towards another. Hooray! Also, keep in mind, by this point, you've got a lot of first cousins and half-siblings fucking each other. So, applause again should be given to Esau for at least trying to diversify the gene pool so that we don't end up with Middle Eastern Baraska. Yeah. Why is that so hard for me to say? And Onan knew that the seed would not be his. And it came to pass, when he went in unto his brother's wife, that he spilled it on the ground, lest he should give his seed to his brother. And the thing he did was evil in the sight of Jehovah, and he slew him also. Uh-oh, we've got yet another instance of misinterpretation of a biblical passage being used to justify historical atrocities. Nowhere near as bad as Genesis 9, in terms of, condemning blacks and literally everybody else into slavery. But this passage has been read as masturbation bad. In fact, masturbation so bad, in addition to hairy palms, blindness, and whatever the hell else someone old prone will tell you it does to you, it apparently also causes divine-sponsored spontaneous combustion. But let's take a closer look here. The passage here doesn't say anything about trap monsters are real monsters. So, what? That was in my notes, and I have no idea what the fuck I actually meant by saying that. The only thing that was specifically said was that Onan had spilled the seed, meaning that he very well could have been up in Tammy all the time there, but pulled out at the very last moment. And so I'd like to remind everyone, pulling out is apparently not a sin. Well, I mean, I guess it kind of is, according to this book. But in my personal opinion, it's not a sin, it is a talent. Also, God just kind of seems to be pissed off here because he specifically told Odeon here to knock up his sister-in-law, but couldn't finish the ride down Splash Mountain. It doesn't say anything specifically condemning choking the chicken or condoms or what have you. If that was slowing you down before, and trust me, I've dated Christian girls, it doesn't, then there you have it. If your pastor wants to yell at you, you can tell him that the statue of Homer wearing a green keffiyeh told you it was A-OK to masturbate in the middle of church. Okay, maybe don't go that far with it, but whatever. However, because people can't actually bother to read, we end up with John Kellogg's incident. Yes, John Kellogg, as in the Rice Krispie motherfucker. So Kellogg was a devout religious man and was deeply concerned about young men getting lonely and playing meat snake single player. And because he was just as accomplished a biologist as he was a theologist, he perpetuated a rumor that the foreskin was the basis of penile pleasure, and likewise the cause of the masturbation epidemic, which had been and continues to sweep the nation because puberty is a thing. The trend caught on mostly in America, so ladies, if you've ever wondered why all American hot dogs and English sausage are so different, it's mainly because they literally have no taste buds and eat baked beans with their breakfast like the godless heathens that they are. But the John Kellogg thing explains why a lot of men in the US are circumcised. To which I have to say, mission failed. Like, horribly. Because circumcision does literally nothing to significantly hinder nor bolster, really, the functionality of a penis. Way to go, you absolute ass jockeys. So that is the side tangent on that one. Hold on here, we got a page break. It's super annoying to get through. 38:11, and then Judah said to Tammy, his daughter-in-law, "Remain a widow in thy father's house till Shiloh, my son, be grown up." For he said, lest he also die like his brethren, and Tammy went and dwelt in her father's house. Here we go. Now we're past the page break. In the process of time, Shua's daughter, the wife of Judah, died, and Judah was comforted, and went up unto his chief hearers in Timnah, he and his friend Hira the Adulamite. And it was told to Tammy, saying, Behold, thy father-in-law goeth up to Timnah to shear his sheep. And she put off from her garments widowhood, and covered herself with her veil, and wrapped herself, and sat at the gate of Enaim, which is, by the way, to Timnah. For she saw that Shelah was grown up, and she was not given unto him to wife. When Judah saw her, he thought her to be a harlot, for she had covered her face. And he turned unto her by the way, and said, Come, I pray thee, let me come in unto thee. For he knew not that she was his daughter-in-law. And she said, What wilt thou give me, that thou mayest come in unto me? By come in unto me, they literally mean come inside. You may notice, though, I do have, for he knew not that she was his daughter-in-law. But she did! So, yeah, the very same chapter, which some people misinterpret as condemnation of masturbation, features literal prostitution between a father-in-law and his daughter, by the way. And that's all A-OK, as we're about to see. Huh. It's almost like people don't actually read this book and selectively pick and choose passages by which to construct their moral constitution. Interesting, isn't it? I don't have very many notes out here, so we're just going to keep going. 38:17. And he said, I will send thee a kid of the goats from the flock. And he said, Wilt thou give me a pledge till thou send it? And he said, What pledge shall I give thee? And she said, Thy signet of thy cord, and thy staff that is in thy hand. And he gave them to her, and came inside of her, or in unto her, excuse me. And she conceived by him. And she arose and went away, and put off her veil from her, and put on the garments of her widowhood. And Judah sent the kid of goats by the hand of his friend the Adulamite, to receive the pledge from the woman's hand, but he found her not. Then he asked the men of her place, saying, Where is the prostitute? That's a question you go around asking strangers. Yeah, where's that prostitute that my buddy fucked? that was by a name by the wayside. And they said, "There hath been no prostitute here." And he returned to Judah and said, "I have not found her." And also the men of the place said, "There hath been no prostitute here." Page break. And Judah said, "Let her take it to her, lest we be put to shame. Behold, I sent this kid, and thou hast not found her." Yes, Judah, that's what will put you to shame, not the fact that you sent your errand boy out with a goat asking around town for the prostitute that you rented for without so much as ever asking her name, but rather the fact that you might be accused of not paying her. Oh dear. Also, kind of self-explanatory. If you can't find the prostitute to give her proper payment, then you can't really get the stuff back that you left with her in the first place. So, Tammy still has his staff in one month. So, just kind of keep that in mind. And it came to pass about 3 months after, that's not how long a baby takes to incubate, but whatever, that it was told Judah, saying, "Tammy, thy daughter-in-law, hath played the harlot, and moreover, behold, she is with child by whoredom." And Judah said, "Bring her forth, and let her be burnt." not fucking around here, is he? When she was brought forth, she sent to her father-in-law, saying, "By the man whose these are, I am with child." And she said, "Discern, I pray thee, whose are these? The signet, and the cords, and the staff." And Judah acknowledged them and said, fuck, she is more righteous than I, for as much as I gave her not to Shelah my son, and he knew her again no more. Right, guys? What kind of fucked up moral code is the Bible abiding by here? So you can justifiably screw your father-in-law while parading yourself around as a whore, excuse me. And if he doesn't force this barely legal show-to-cock son on to fuck you, it's all okay. You know, I said before that the Bible has some prime hentai material to it. I just wasn't sure what kind of depraved, fucked up tags you'd have to use to advertise this thing. Maybe, well, no, you couldn't even use stepfather, stepdaughter. It would be father-in-law and daughter-in-law. Is that popular? Is that a popular tag? I actually do not know. Like, you guys might accuse me of being depraved, but I actually don't look into that shit. Anyway, just a few more. And it came to pass in the time of her travail that, behold, twins were in her womb. And it came to pass, when she travailed, that one put out a hand, and the midwife took and bound upon his hand a scarlet thread, saying, this one came out first. And it came to pass, as he drew back his hand, that, behold, his brother came out. And she said, "Wherefore hast thou made a breach for thyself?" Therefore his name was Perez. Perez kind of just means to break through, to signify how he shoved his technically older brother out of the way so that he could be born first and, enjoy all of the rights which come to firstborns. But, well, they kind of already marked the other one. And afterward came out his brother, that had the scarlet thread upon his hand, and his name was Zerah. Zerah is a lot more generic of a name. It just means shining or bright. And he was the one who first fist his mother still technically sister-in-law first. We're going to see later on that Perez is going to be the main recipient of Judah's inheritance, thus further convoluting the subject of birthrights when it comes to twins. Oh, and also, it's still around, but I guess he doesn't get to ride on his brother's old bicycle. Nor does he get that trust fund from Daddy, because, he was literally fucked out of it by his nephews. Oh well, he was barely a character anyway. And that concludes Genesis 38, the chapter from this episode. So then we can swiftly move on to Genesis 39. We're starting the Egyptian prison saga. So let's see here. Let's see who we actually got here. Oh my god, we got a lot of people actually. Koi E says based Joseph. He does. He is kind of based a little bit later on. Judea is still. Well, I mean, technically, yes, it is. It is filtered by the admission of the pre-exile prophets. They very much so condemn Judah. Martine says hello, Martine. Glad to have you here. Fermionic Trees Beat says base Joseph. Okay, well, apparently some of you guys really do like Joseph. And he also says Yu Yu Hakusho is fire. It absolutely is. 1,000,000,000%. Best anime ever. Masturbation is not allowed? I'm sad. No. You see, or at least a lot of people who read this book misinterpret it. Just listen to me, okay? I'm the arbiter of morality when it comes to the Bible. So says me. Okay, so you know what? You're all good to go. Oh, my mic is breaking up? Is it still breaking up, guys? Is it still fucking awful? This was a while ago. This is like 2 minutes ago. So let me know. Probably still. Hold on here. Make sure it's all plugged in. What was that? You guys hear that? It almost sounded like the fucking Roblox oof sound effect, except it was pitched down. Okay. Yeah, that was weird. Routine. So the rule is no jerking off, but prostitution is a-okay. Yes. You can't even point to the Bible, at least up to this point, as condemning prostitution. It's just, it's okay, so long as you pay her, I guess. So she had a mask on the whole time. I'd like to think that she was wearing a bag over her head with a smiley face drawn onto it. Yeah, and she gave herself a little name tag that says, "My name is Tammy," crossed out, Joshua Tomar. And then finally here we have leave it to God to justify family fantasies with masturbation. Like I said, guys, it's technically okay. Really, more so, it's just kind of condemning the fact that Onan didn't get Tammy pregnant. I can't call it Tammy is Tamar, but you know what I mean. But yeah, that was Genesis 38. So hopefully you all learned something today. You know, who's going to be hosed? And Shiloh had his heart broken by this woman named Tammy, but hoes can be hoes, so you can't blame Tammy. Okay, moving on. So now we have Genesis 39 up on the horizon here. And like I said, now we're going to be switching back to like the Joseph perspective on things. As we are going to stay with him for the next 3 chapters or so, as something very important happens which ends up screwing everybody over. I mean, you could argue that Joseph's brothers beating him up and selling him into slavery into Egypt in the first place kind of screwed them all over by, you know, bringing to fruition that whole prophecy that God had made about, you know, the entire fucking, his entire chosen people being led to enslavement for the next 400 years or so, but, you know, whatever. Also, apologies hear that stupid ass fucking phone. It's not mine. I'm just gonna wait for it. Shut up! You faggot! You're just a fucking telemarketer who wants to sell me life insurance. Well, I ain't dead yet, bitch. I don't even have any fucking to give money to. Especially not those fucking cockney orphans who come around every Christmas. Little carpet hunters. Oh no, wait, that's a. Well, whatever. Fucking yes, it's finally. Christ, it's always a fucking telemarketer, by the way. Nobody ever calls you with anything important. So, alrighty, Genesis 39, and Joseph was brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of the pharaohs, the captain of the guard, an Egyptian. I don't know what other nationality he would be if he is the captain of the guard of the pharaoh of Egypt, but sure, brought him to the land of the Ishmaelites and had brought him down there. And Jehovah was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man, and he was in the house of the master of the Egyptian, of his master, the Egyptian, excuse me. And his master saw that Jehovah was with him, and that Jehovah made all that he did to prosper in his hand. And Joseph found favor in his sight, and he ministered unto him, and he made him overseer of his house, and all that he had put into his hand. And it came to pass, from the time that he made him overseer of his house, and over all that he had, that Jehovah blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. And the blessing of Jehovah was upon all that he had, and the house and in the field. And he left all that he had in Joseph's hand, and he knew not aught that was with him, save the bread which he did eat. And Joseph was comely and well favored. Essentially, that using the word salad just means that Joseph was really good at planting crops and shit, but all he ever took for it was stale shit. And it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph, and she said, "Lie with me." But he refused, and said unto his master's wife, "Behold, my master knoweth not what is with me in the house, and he hath put all that he hath into my hand." By the way, I just now remembered that I forgot to put up the stickers. That's kind of embarrassing. Here we go. So, by the way, the previous chapter was called "Shoot Your Gooma Dude." Those of you who get it will get it. Haha, very funny old meme. This one I have named "I Married for Money, and Now I Want a Baby with the Jewish Pope." And obvious influence should be obvious now. By the way, add that to yet another tag that you can put on a biblically accurate fucking hentai. Oh boy, is that a tag? I don't even know. Like I said, I'm a good boy. I don't even know what porn is. What's this thing between my legs? What does it do aside from peeing? I guess we'll never know. But he refused and said unto his master's wife, "Behold, my master knoweth not what was in the house, and he hath put all that he hath into my hand. He is not greater in the house than I, neither hath kept back anything from me but thee, because thou art his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God?" It came to pass, as she spake to Joseph day by day, that he hearkened not unto her, to lie by her, or to be with her. And it came to pass about this time, that he went into the house to do his work, and there was none of the men of the house there within. And she caught him by his garment, saying, "Lie with me." And he left his garment in her hand, and fled, and got him out. Which, by the way, that's very inconspicuous. You know, if a woman grabs you by the pants and wants you to have an affair with her, and you don't want to be caught having an affair with the lady, it's usually not a very good image to be running out of the house while she's holding on to your pants and you're just kind of running around with your birthday suit. I digress. 39:14. And she called unto the men of her house to speak unto them, saying, he hath brought a Hebrew unto us to mock us. He came in unto me to lie with me, and I cried with a loud voice. And it came to pass, when he heard that I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment by me and fled, and got him out. So, also add the rape tag, I guess. We're accumulating tags. And not a lot of comments, because most of this is fairly self-explanatory. But we do have one. And she laid up his garment by her until his master came home. And she spake unto him according to these words, saying, the Hebrew servant whom thou hast brought unto us came in unto me to mock me. And it came to pass, as I lifted up my voice and cried, he left his garment by me and fled out. And it came to pass, when his master heard the words of his wife, she spake unto him, saying, after this manner did thy servant to me, that his wrath was kindled. And Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, the place where the king's prisoners were bound. Yes, that tends to be what prisons do. They hold prisoners. And he was there in the prison. No shit. God. So anyway, all things considered here, Joseph got off super duper light, as the papyrus, creatively titled I know, details that the punishment for those convicted of rape or adultery as cutting off the genital organ and burning the assailant alive for good measure afterwards. This is comparative to the law of ancient Jerusalem, where Exodus and Deuteronomy lay out the consequences of rape, which are proportional. If a man is found sleeping with another man's wife, both the man who slept with her and the woman must die. He must purge the evil from Israel. If a man happens to meet in a town a virgin pledged to be married, and he sleeps with her, you shall take both of them to the gate of that town and stone them to death. The young woman, because she was in a town and did not scream for help. You're making a lot of assumptions there, but sure. And the man, because he violated another man's wife. You must purge the evil from among you. That's Deuteronomy 22 through 24, or any of you want to go ahead and check that out. Later on in Exodus, it says, if a man seduces a virgin for whom the bride price has not been paid, and lies with her, he must make her his wife by payment of a bride price. If her father refuses to give her to him, he must still weigh out silver in accordance with the bride price for virgins. Exodus 22:15 through 16. Moving back over to Deuteronomy here for a second. If a man comes upon a virgin who is not engaged and seizes her and lies with her, and they are discovered, the man who lay with her shall pay the girl's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife. Because he violated her, he can never have the right to divorce her. So, I mean, that more or less kind of sounds like a punishment for the woman. You have to marry your rapist, and you also can never divorce him. And also, apparently, your entire life is only worth about 50 shekels. But, sure, why not? That's Deuteronomy 22, 28 through 29. I don't know if anybody actually is going to go check this stuff, but I'm just going to be, in case you actually are interested. Something interesting I also found is that according to Assyrian law, which I don't know what would be applied to, but hey, it's just there. if the rapist is already married when he commits the act, he is also to be raped, by whom I could not tell you. Maybe a town rapist who flats with all the town executioners or something. But yeah, point is, being jailed for rape is comparatively a slap on the wrist from what Joseph would have likely received, which is very much so akin to a Mussolini treatment, minus the fire. All right, 3 more passages, and then we'll finish up this chapter. But Jehovah was with Joseph, and showed kindness unto him, and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. And the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners that were in the prison, and whatsoever they did there, he was the doer of it. The keeper of the prison looked not to anything that was under his hand, because Jehovah was with him, and that which he did, Jehovah made it prosper. So yes, God just sanctioned Joseph to start a prison gang, literally with the warden's permission, and now he's doing God knows what down there, and they're all immediately turning a blind eye to it. Ah, nepotism in the Bible. Oh, so great, isn't it? Oh, for fuck's sake. So now even the title of the stream makes sense. All right, let's see here. Very quickly, what I missed. Oh, for fuck's sake. So the audio is still having some issues. I don't know. My mic looks like it's... Nothing looks to be fucky with that. It may just be StreamYard fucking up. I'll have to check it out a little bit later. Hopefully it's not dropping too much. That would be fucking awful. Well, then again, I guess you guys can read, but then again, you don't really have Joseph the spoiled brat becomes house manager. Great. Yes, and then he becomes the leader of the mafia. Damn, woman only worth 50 shekels? Tell that to a feminist. Well, I mean, let's be fair here. It depends. But, yeah. I mean, to me, what's really just kind of more insulting about that whole thing is just the fact that, you know, it's all a consequence of rape, which you yourself have to share in, and you know that's more or less just kind of like the final slap in the face. Just, oh yeah, by the way, you were only ever worth about 50 shekels in the first place. You know, you guarded your virginity, you did all that you were supposed to do, but fuck you. Alrighty, so now we're going to move on into one of the most concerning chapters in Genesis. Genesis 40 here. You'll see why I mean concerning here in just a second. Let me get the ticker up. Better dead than bread. Let's go ahead and share something here. Stream getting so awkward to work with anyway. Trust me, as soon as I can get a router to block it, I can figure out how to do so effectively. We're gonna immediately switch into OBS. Because yeah, this software is pretty shit, but as of right now, it's the best way to connect me to YouTube, unfortunately. So, you know, we only get what we give. It says a one-hit wonder band, which is mainly famous for wearing a bucket hat, or at least the main singer is. All right, Genesis 41. And it came to pass after these things that the butler of the king of Egypt and his baker offended their lord, the king of Egypt. And Pharaoh was wroth against his 2 officers, against the chief of the butlers and against the chief of the bakers. And he put them in a ward with the house of the captain of the guard, into the prison, the place where Joseph was bound. And the captain of the guard charged Joseph with them, and he ministered unto them, and they continued a season in war. And they dreamed a dream, both of them, each man his dream in one night, each man according to the interpretation of his dream, the butler and the baker of the king of Egypt, who were bound in the prison. And Joseph came in unto them in the morning, and saw them, and behold, they were sad. And he asked Pharaoh's officers what were with him in the ward of the master's house, saying, Wherefore look ye so sad today? And they said unto him, We have dreamed a dream, and there is none that can interpret it. And Joseph said unto them, Bet. And the chief butler told his dream to Joseph, and said to him, In my dream, behold, a vine was before me, and in the vine were 3 branches, and it was as though it budded, and its blossoms shot forth, and the clusters thereof brought forth ripe grapes. And Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes and pressed them into Pharaoh's cup, and I gave the cup to Pharaoh's hand. And Joseph said unto them, This is the interpretation of it. 3 branches are 3 days. Within yet 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up thy head, and restore thee unto thine office, and thou shalt give Pharaoh's cup into his hand, and the former manner when thou wast his butler. But have me in thy remembrance, when it shall be well with thee, and show kindness, I pray thee, unto me, and make mention of me unto Pharaoh, and bring me out of this house. For indeed I was stolen away out of the land of the Hebrews, and here also I have done nothing that they should put me into the dungeon. So says me, the leader of a prison gang. When the chief baker saw that the interpretation was good, he said unto Joseph, I also was in my dream, and behold, 3 baskets of white bread were on my head. And in the uppermost basket there was all manner of food for Pharaoh, and the birds did eat them out of the basket upon my head. Let's quickly here get past the page break. By the way, not too much to highlight yet again, mainly just because a lot of this is very straightforward. And Joseph answered and said, This is the interpretation thereof. The 3 baskets are 3 days. Very creative. That within 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up thy head from off thee, and shall hang thee on a tree, and the birds shall eat thy flesh from off thee. What the fuck did the baker do? This is all incredibly ominous, as we're not given any of the details at all concerning what it is that these guys were going to kill. So to hear that the first guy gets out and is restored to being Pharaoh's cupbearer, while the other guy is decapitated and supposedly left to rot with his corpse strung up and eaten by crows, there's some sort of story here which is a lot more interesting than what we're given context for. By the way, I looked up, and apparently if your corpse was left out in the open to be eaten by crows or something in ancient Egypt following capital punishment, it was indicative that they did not want your soul to be able to pass on to the afterlife and curse your spirit to forever wander the deserts. So again, what the hell did this guy do? My God! And it came to pass on the 3rd day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, by the way. Happy birthday, Pharaoh. On 40/20, almost 420. Pharaoh was Hitler. That he made a feast unto all his servants. And he lifted up the head of the chief butler and the head of the chief baker among his servants. And he restored the chief butler unto his butlership again, and he gave the cup into Pharaoh's hand, and he hanged the chief baker as Joseph had interpreted to him. Did not the chief butler remember Joseph, What for back him? What? Don't worry, he remembers him like literally a few chapters later. I don't know why they said it so condemningly. It's just like, yeah, you know that guy that told you that he would definitely remember you and everything that you did for him? He just kind of forgot about you. He said, fuck you. So now the Egyptian cartel is going to be storming the pyramids and looking to pummel the very last butler of the pharaoh. 420 weed Hitler. 420, excuse me. And wow, we have really dropped off with viewership. My audio really that bad? Fuck. I do apologize for that, folks. I'll try and see. What it is a lot of times, though, is that during the live stream, a lot of times it does cut out, I found. And then once it actually uploads the full thing onto YouTube, it mostly kind of sort of fixes itself. So hopefully that happens. Otherwise, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do, because I really don't feel like doing this again. Some of you may know this is already the second attempt that we've had at this stream, so... Anyway, though, we go ahead and move swiftly along to our last chapter for today, that being Genesis 41. A few more notes in this one, and good God, it's a long chapter, but it really is kind of the crux of everything that's been going on here. So let me go ahead here. No comments to read. That's fine. Present. Screen window. All right. Let's get this bread. Well, not the bread that the baker was making. I don't know what the fuck that guy was on, but yeah. 41:1. And it came to pass at the end of 2 full years that Pharaoh dreamed, and behold, he stood by the river. And behold, there came up out from the river 7 kine, well-favored and fat-fleshed, and they fed in the reed grass. Kine, by the way, is just kind of another word for cows. And behold, 7 other kine came out after them out of the river, ill-favored and lean-fleshed, and stood by the other kine upon the brink of the river. And the ill-favored and lean-fleshed kine did eat up the 7 well-favored and fat kine. So Pharaoh awoke. And he slept and dreamed a second time. And behold, 7 ears of grain came up upon one stalk, rank and good. And behold, 7 ears, thin and blasted with the wind, sprung up after them. And the thin ears swallowed up the 7 rank and full ears, and Pharaoh awoke, and behold, it was a dream. And it came to pass in the morning that his spirit was troubled, and he sent and called for all the magicians of Egypt, and all the wise men thereof. And Pharaoh told them his dream, but there was none that could interpret them unto Pharaoh. And he then spake the chief butler unto Pharaoh, saying, I do remember my faults this day. Finally, Pharaoh was wroth with his servants, and put me in the ward of the house of the captain of the guard, me and the chief baker, the absolute monster. And we dreamed a dream in one night, and we dreamed each man according to the interpretation of his dream. And there was with us a young man, a Hebrew, servant to the captain of the guard. And we told him, and he interpreted to us our dreams. To each man according to his dream he did interpret. That's what interpreting your dreams means, retard. And it came to pass, as he interpreted to us, so it was, me he restored unto mine office, and him he hanged. The Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him hastily out of the dungeon, and he shaved himself, and changed his raiment, and came in unto the Pharaoh. If you're wondering about this, it's fairly simple. In order to be in the presence of the pharaoh in that culture, you needed to make yourself look presentable, which obviously means changing into nice clothes for one, but also curiously enough, the men had to be clean shaven. Strange that the author of this chapter was familiar with the customs of Egyptian court and not with their penalty for rape, but yeah, inconsistencies in the Bible. Who would have thought? Very quickly. Okay, now we're all set up. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I have dreamed a dream, and there is none that can interpret it. And I have heard say of thee that when thou hast a dream, thou can interpret it. There. And Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, It is not in me. God will give Pharaoh an answer of peace. And Pharaoh said, What the fuck is that? And then went on to spake unto Joseph. In my dream, behold, I stood upon the brink of a river, blah, blah, literally just word for word repeating what we have read. And when they had eaten them, it could not be known that they had eaten them, but they were still ill favor as at the beginning. So I awoke. And I saw in my dream, behold, the 7 ears, blah, blah, blah. And let's just go ahead and get the 4125 to the actual interpretation because I have no patience for repetitious nonsense. And Joseph said unto Pharaoh, The dream of Pharaoh is one. What God is about to do, he hath declared unto Pharaoh. The 7 good kine are 7 years, and the 7 good ears are 7 years. The dream is one. And the 7 lean and ill-favored kine that came up after them are 7 years, and also the 7 empty ears blasted with the east wind. They shall be 7 years of famine. That is the thing which I spake unto Pharaoh, that God is about to do, he hath showed unto Pharaoh. There. Behold, there come 7 years of great plenty throughout all the land of Egypt. And there shall arise after them 7 years of famine, and all the plenty shall be forgotten in the land of Egypt, and famine shall consume the land. And the plenty shall not be known in the land by reason of that famine which followeth, for it shall be very grievous. General Kenobi. And for that the dream was doubled unto Pharaoh. It is because the thing is established by God, and God will shortly bring it to pass. Now therefore let Pharaoh look out a man discreet and wise, and set him over the land of Egypt. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Let Pharaoh do this, and let him appoint overseers over the land, and take up the 5th part of the land of Egypt in the 7 plenteous years. And let him gather all the food of these good years that come, and lay up grain under the hand of Pharaoh for food in the cities, and let them keep it. And the food shall be for a store to the land against the 7 years of famine, which shall be in the land of Egypt. I don't know why you would think that this would shift perspective to literally anywhere else, but I just want to remind you, the Egyptian Pharaoh, that we are in fact in Egypt. Does the land perish not through the famine? And the thing was good in the eyes of the Pharaoh, and in the eyes of all of his servants. And Pharaoh said unto his servants, Can we find such a one as this, a man in whom the Spirit of God is, the Hebrew God, who for some reason I am just now starting to venerate, the one who I literally just heard about this afternoon, and as far as I know, there is only one practitioner of this monotheistic faith in my entire kingdom, who happens to be standing about 10 feet away from me at this very moment. Wheresoever shall we find such a man? And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, Forasmuch as God hath showeth thee all of this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou. Thou shalt be over my house, and according unto thy word shall all my people be ruled. Only in the throne will I be greater than thou. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, See, I have set thee over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh took off his signet ring from his hand, and put it upon Joseph's hand, and arrayed him in vestures of fine linen, and put a gold chain about his neck. And they made him to ride in a second chariot he had, and they cried before him, Bow the knee. And he set him over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I am Pharaoh, and without thee shall no man lift up his hand or his foot in all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zephaneah Paneah. The interpretation of this name is a little bit contentious. Some think it to mean revealer of dreams, or he who speaks for God, or something like that. Basically, he just got a royal title, which is like a vizier, but higher than a vizier, if that makes sense. And he gave him to wife Asenath. Yeah, sure. The daughter of Potiphera, priest of On. And Joseph went on to rule over the land of Egypt. God, nepotism is so great, isn't it? And Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And Joseph went out from the presence of Pharaoh and went throughout all the land of Egypt. By the way, this chapter kind of just soft confirms that Joseph had been leading his prison gang for about 13 years by this point. So he's got connections both in the upper world, white collar business, and the scummy underworld of Egypt now. So this is a particularly dangerous individual. 41:47. And in the 7 plenteous years the earth brought forth by handfuls. And he gathered up all the food of the 7 years which were in the land of Egypt, and laid up the food in the cities. The food of the field, which was round about every city, laid he up in the same. That's what means, whatever. And Joseph laid up the grain as the sand of the sea, very much until he left off numbering, for it was without number. Essentially just meaning that they had so much grain, they lost track of how much they had, I guess. And unto Joseph were born 2 sons before the year of famine came, who Asenath, the daughter of Potiphera, priest of On, bare unto him. So he didn't actually cheat on his wife there. Good guy, Joseph. You're doing some things right. And Joseph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh, for said he, God hath made me forget all my toil and all my father's house. So Manasseh essentially means making forget when directly translated, which I personally think is great. I'd love to have a son who made me forget all about my father too. And the name of the second son was called Ephraim, for God hath made me fruitful in the land of my affliction. Ephraim just means fertile land. So, yeah. What a name. And the 7 years of plenty that was in the land of Egypt came to an end, and the 7 years of famine began to come, according as Joseph had said. And there was famine in all lands, in all the land of Egypt, where there was bread. And when all the land of Egypt was famished, the people cried to Pharaoh for bread. And Pharaoh said unto the Egyptians, I don't know, go look at that guy. He's in charge of the bread. The famine was over all the face of the earth. And Joseph opened all the storehouses and sold unto the Egyptians, and the famine was sore in the land of Egypt. The famine was sore. The people were not sore because of the famine. The famine wasn't doing a very good job of starving people out, because they have bread. By the way, they're selling the bread to them. It's not like some sort of social service program where we're going to give all of our starving people bread. It's like, no, motherfucker, this is still capitalism. Pay up, you pony bitch. Anyway, last line of 41, and a very important one. And all countries came into Egypt to Joseph to buy grain, because the famine was sore in all the earth. Now, this may very well be the writers of Genesis attributing what was probably the most influential thing about Egypt at the time to one of their own. Grain in Egypt was a really huge thing, even as late as the Roman Empire, which by the 2nd century AD became the first city in the world to bypass 1 million citizens. In order to try to appease and provide for all of these people, the Roman government adopted the Cura Annone, a program which saw to it that the head of every Roman household was provided with free grain and later baked bread. The largest exporter of this grain was, in fact, Egypt. So we're talking about a pretty lucrative business here. I'd just like to reiterate, Joseph went from a Jewish pool boy to the leader of a prison gang to the godfather of the largest grain mafia in history. Just gotta keep it all in mind. Especially that last periscope here, that all countries came to Egypt, because that is going to be monumentously important later on, especially for fulfilling that self-destructive prophecy of Egypt enslaving the Jews as far back as chapter 15. Spoiler alert, it was Jacob who screws the pooch on this one, but that's a story for a whole other day. So that is going to be episode 10, ladies and gentlemen, of Bible Book by Book. I know we had some technical difficulties here with the audio. Hopefully, when it does get uploaded to YouTube in its entirety, we'll fix it. If not, I'll try and figure something else out. Like I said, this software is kind of fucking stupid. Anastasia says, I need to leave. The YouTube app keeps crashing. I'll watch the VOD. Okay. So, maybe, well, it could very well be YouTube at the very same time. I would not put it past them to make absolutely terrible fucking software. So, old man Malton said, yes, you think it repeats so much because people back then were so inbred they needed things repeated to them? Or is it superstition that they feel the need to repeat things 3 times over or else it won't take? I honestly blame a lot of this on Mesopotamian poetry because while I was researching for the Inanna and the Underworld video, and I guess it's the Inanna character study, I actually do have a book, a compilation of all of the poems attributed to her. I might show that off next time I do just kind of like a casual chatting stream. Basically, it has the exact same problem. It repeats everything verbatim over and over and over again. It is a little bit insulting just because it's kind of like, okay, I understood you the first time, but I don't know. It just kind of seems to be like it also depends on who's writing this. Because you notice some chapters, they don't really do that. They get right down to business. They're like, yeah, Onam shot a load outside of his sister, and then he got fucking pelted in the head with a thunderbolt. Whereas this chapter, of course, had to say, and the Pharaoh had a dream. By the way, guys, he had a dream while he was sleeping. The Pharaoh of Egypt had a dream about Egypt while he was asleep. You know, it's there. So that's probably what it is. It's probably more so like a period piece sort of thing, and also maybe kind of sort of like a nationalist kind of thing. So Duke is saying that YouTube is being shit too as of right now. So I don't know. Well, we'll see. Hopefully, it is just. Hopefully, it's all going to be fixed in the VOD. So, um, we don't have very many people still watching, but if anybody is still here and has any last minute questions, feel free to let me know about what they are. It doesn't necessarily have to be about what we covered in today's stream. It could be about what's coming up next for the channel. It's that the third. I'll hold off here for a couple more minutes and give chat time to catch up to where we are right now. And if that's the end of it, then that'll be the end of it. And I want to thank you all so very much for tuning in. Sorry that we didn't have technical issues, but hey, I would very much so like to blame YouTube for all of this. It's YouTube, right? They're my favorite scapegoat. But realistically, it probably is StreamYard. I swear to God, this fucking website sometimes operates like its servers are submerged in like a gallon of mashed potatoes and gravy. It is fairly awful. But okay. Just go. We don't need these anymore. Excuse me. So once again, thanks to all man balls and Guinness, by the way, for creating that Jacob's Ladder image that we all saw at the beginning of the stream. It is fantastic. If I ever do a whole video on that apocryphal book, I will be sure to include that. As well as the famous depiction of Jacob being the postmodern iDubbbz as detailed by those face puppets that we saw a while back. What was that, last stream or the stream before? I don't remember. Jacob is probably going to get his own individual character study eventually, so that'll probably be when I can really drive that joke home to all of you guys. But, all right. Well, looks like we're pretty much wrapped up here, so I want to thank you so very much for tuning in today. Fairly short stream, but hey, that's the way some people like it. Thank you all so very much for tuning in. Hope to see you all next time. My name is Messiah's Mythology. Have a God's blessed day and a good yard.